I was the last one, standing under the arrival sign at Gate 3A, my coat draped neatly over one arm, my pie dish still warm wrapped tight in 2 layers of foil. Around me, families were laughing, hugging, crying, claiming one another like luggage off a belt, and me, I was a question mark on the edge of their joy. No call, no text, just silence. I checked again, 42 minutes since we landed. My son said, "Fly out, Dad. The kids miss you. It won't be the same without you." And yet here I was alone watching strangers be wanted. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? I didn't sit down. That was deliberate. I kept standing because sitting would have made it real, would have said to every passing family, every crying toddler, every beaming father holding balloons, "This man is waiting for someone who isn't coming." So I stood. My coat, still draped across my forearm, had started to weigh more than it should have. The pie dish was warm when I packed it, pecan Kayla's favorite. I'd wrapped it tight in 2 layers of foil, then in a tea towel so it wouldn't tip in my bag. I'd even set the crust just a little darker like Ethan used to like when he was a boy. I thought about that for a second. How strange it is, the details we still remember for people who no longer notice we remember them. The phone was still in my hand, screen blank. I tapped it again. No notifications, no missed calls. I had texted the night before landing at 3:10. "Can't wait to see you all." No response. But I assumed they were busy. People are always busy. I used to be busy too, before retirement stripped the urgency from my calendar. Now I marked time in coffee spoons and prescription refills. But this invitation had felt like a pulse again. Something to prepare for, something to be included in. 3 days ago, Ethan had called out of the blue. "Hey Dad," he said, voice light stretched tight like cellophane over something he didn't want to say. I'd been planning to stay home, roast a small chicken, maybe read the old war letters again, maybe not. He said, "We'd love to have you here this year. Kayla misses you. The kids do too. It won't be the same without you." That line, "It won't be the same without you," that was the one that undid me. You get to a certain age, and you stop being asked. You're included out of obligation or left off entirely. But at that moment, those words felt like I mattered again. I didn't even ask if they'd cover the flight. I just said I'd come. I booked it that evening, non-refundable. Used the Christmas money I'd tucked away in an envelope inside the junk drawer. I packed 3 days early, bought new socks, picked out a cardigan I hadn't worn since Marlene's funeral, navy blue ribbed cuffs, 2 inside pockets. I had even written down their address on paper just in case my phone died. I wanted to be the version of myself that belonged in their house. The kind of grandpa who smells like pine and baked sugar, who gets invited because he matters, not because someone felt guilty. I looked around again. A woman next to me was crying into her daughter's shoulder. A teenage boy ran into his grandfather's arms, nearly knocking him over. The airport echoed with the sound of belonging. I stood straighter, trying not to appear like a man who had been forgotten. And then I saw the photo. It was posted 13 minutes ago. I hadn't gone looking for it. It just popped up. A family photo around a long wooden table. Candles, full plates, mashed potatoes, turkey carved, the pie, not mine. And at the center, Ethan wearing the sweater I'd mailed him last Christmas. Kayla was smiling with one hand on his shoulder. The kids, Elliot and Sophie, raised plastic glasses of cider in a toast. And the caption, "Full house, full hearts, happy Thanksgiving." There was no empty chair, no space saved, no waiting. I didn't even feel the sting at first. Just a kind of hollowness, like I'd been erased so thoroughly that even the air didn't know I'd arrived. I turned my phone over screen facing my palm like it was something shameful. Then I lifted the coat onto my shoulder, picked up my suitcase, and started walking past the automatic doors, past the rental car signs, past the families leaning out of car windows to wave one more time. The cold hit me like a sentence I hadn't wanted to hear. I still didn't know where I was going. I just knew I wasn't waiting anymore. I didn't order a rideshare. I didn't text Ethan. I didn't try again. I just walked. The suitcase wheels clacked softly behind me, dragging across seams in the sidewalk like a faint metronome. There were families everywhere, parents buckling in sleepy toddlers, college kids laughing into speaker phones, rides arriving with music blaring. Everyone had somewhere to be. Everyone but me. The air outside the terminal had that November bite, thin, sharp, and dry, the kind of cold that finds its way through wool and skin to sit just above the bone. But I kept walking past the shuttle pickup, past the long row of taxis I wasn't about to climb into. I passed a mother handing hot chocolate to an older woman. I don't know why that detail stayed with me, but it did. Maybe because she looked older than me, and she had someone bringing her warmth. About a quarter-mile from the airport, there was a squat building tucked between a budget car return and a chain motel. Eddie's Diner. The flickering neon sign read the E blinking like it couldn't quite decide if it belonged. The windows were fogged, and someone had taped paper turkeys to the inside. It was warm in there. I could tell from the condensation. I hesitated only a second before opening the door. The bell above the frame jingled with a tired sound. Inside it smelled of bacon, grease and cinnamon, and old coffee. 6 people were scattered across the booths. A man in a delivery uniform was hunched over a newspaper. An older couple ate in silence. One woman sat at the counter, spinning her spoon in a mug like it was keeping time. The waitress behind the counter glanced up, ponytail pulled tight. "Happy Thanksgiving," she said. Not chirpy, just kind. I nodded. "You too." She handed me a laminated menu, led me to a booth by the window. "We're short-staffed today, but we've still got turkey and pie. Might be slow." "Pie sounds just fine," I said, sliding into the booth. I didn't realize how stiff my knees had become until I sat down. "What kind?" She smiled. "Pumpkin, apple, or pecan? Got coffee and hot tea too." "Pecan and black tea, please." "You got it." I didn't take my coat off right away. I sat there for a moment, hands resting on the tabletop like I was waiting for someone to tell me it was all a mistake, that I'd misread the time, that a car was just around the corner, that the photo had been posted prematurely. But nothing came. My phone was still face down. It buzzed once. I didn't check it. When the pie arrived, it came with a little dollop of whipped cream that leaned to the side. The crust was cracked. Not pretty, but the kind of pie someone makes when they mean it. The tea came in a chipped white mug. I took a bite. It wasn't the best pie I'd ever had, but it was warm, real, and for the first time in a long time, it wasn't something I'd baked for someone else. It was mine. I didn't rush. I didn't scroll. I just sat at a booth in a diner, half a mile from a terminal where I'd been forgotten, and somehow I felt more seen there than I had in my son's house in years. I watched the steam rise off my tea, and thought about the last time I'd been invited without it coming with a request. "No, can you babysit? Nor can you help us with the car? Nor can you bring dessert? Just, we want you here." That's what Ethan said. "The kids miss you. It won't be the same without you." And yet it was the same. No, it was worse, because this time I let myself believe it. By the time I finished the pie, the tea had gone cold. I asked the waitress for the check. She looked over. "Want another slice to go?" I paused, then nodded. "Yeah, for later. Best decision you'll make all day." She winked. The second slice came in a paper box tucked into a small white bag. I held it gently like it was something fragile. I stepped back out into the chill. The sun had already dipped low enough that the parking lot lights had begun to flicker on. It was Thanksgiving, and I had nowhere to go. And yet, oddly, I didn't feel lost. Not exactly. Just done. I walked back toward the direction I'd come, not to return to the terminal, but toward a small neon vacancy sign I'd noticed earlier. Valley Motel. Weekly rates available. The kind of place with stucco walls, beige trim, and vending machines that ate your quarters, but it had lights on, and right now, that was enough. The man behind the desk looked half asleep, a football game flickering on the TV behind him. "One night?" he asked. I nodded. "Single ID and card." He didn't ask why I was alone, didn't ask what brought me to town, just slid a flimsy key across the counter. Room 108, end of the row. The room smelled faintly of bleach and loneliness. One bed, two lamps with mismatched shades, a TV older than my youngest grandchild, but it had heat, the kind that hummed low and steady through the vent. I sat on the edge of the bed, and finally took off my coat. My back ached, my feet ached more, but my heart, the part that should have felt shattered, just felt still, quiet in a way I hadn't experienced in years. I turned over my phone. 3 missed calls. 2 from Ethan. 1 from Kayla. A text from Ethan. Dad, where are you? I thought you were flying in tomorrow. No apology. No acknowledgement of the photo. Just confusion. As if I disappeared. As if I were the one who got the date wrong. I didn't reply. Instead, I unzipped my bag and took out my old notebook, the one I used for grocery lists. Quiet thoughts, things too small to say out loud. I flipped to a clean page and wrote one sentence. I am not spared like it. Then below it, I am not a placeholder. I am not a side dish at someone else's table. I stared at those lines for a long time. Then I underlined them both. I didn't cry. A few years ago I might have, 5 years ago I would have. But tonight, no tears, just clarity, cold, clean and sharp, like winter arriving without permission. The next morning, the motel room smelled like lukewarm coffee and cheap detergent. I'd slept in my clothes, not out of laziness, but because I hadn't planned to unpack. I hadn't planned to stay.